Hello internets, I'm Zelz, the channel is Zellspeak, and this is my group dungeon quest and lore series. Thank you for watching. Today we are in Stone Falls for Fungal Grotto, which means I get to talk about Vivec, among other things. But first, you know by now how much I love a good fall to my death. Falling to my death is always fun, but I also like giving an establishing shot for the location of the dungeon because location matters to the context of the story. You get a huge disconnect from the context when you pour it in blind. To the point though, look at all these beautiful cliffs. Great for a view, huh? Except they're all inaccessible. I can't climb any of them. So... just not the same. So here we are in scenic Fungal Grotto, and that's not even sarcasm, it really is lovely. Except, of course, as you can see, that it's infested with cultists, and not the kind who follow the light. Why are the cultists here? Let's see what this letter says. Very mysterious. Let's see if the cultists will tell us anything.
You're interrupting my prayers. What is it?
I'm curious about a couple of things. Could you fill me in?
Perhaps. Just tread carefully. This place is sacred to us, and there is only so much I can discuss.
And what's your name?
I'm Rhaegar Dark Dawn, hammer to Mistress Theron. Cross her, and you will answer to me.
Well, I wasn't planning on it, but good to know. So why are you all here?
Ask Mistress Theron. If she chooses to share our purpose, so be it. But I won't betray her trust.
So that's a hard pass on sharing info, huh, Darkhammer? Let's see if Gamine will share anything.
I've no time for pleasantries. Speak.
You're fun. What's going on here?
An old story. Goblins and Dreg fighting for territory. They seem to have reached a stalemate. Until that's broken, it's not safe in there.
And yet here you are, wanting to go in. How come?
That's not a question I'm permitted to answer. The web spinner has led us here. That is all you need to know.
Web spinner?
The web spinner. Mephala, Princess of Secrets. The anticipation of Vivec. She who weaves the sordid web of mortal affairs. Do you know nothing of the world you live in?
We're working on that. It's a lore series. Bear with us. And lastly, our quest giver, whose name is Veloth.
You're not part of my expedition. Interesting.
This is no random chance. I believe you're the answer to our problem.
Spoken like a true Mephala worshipper.
We're searching these caverns for a sacred shrine that's been lost for ages. Our problem is that Dreg and goblins are overrunning the place. Goblins are slow-witted. If you kill their chieftain, they must accept you as their leader.
And then?
Stick the chieftain's head on a spike somewhere the whole tribe can see. Then lead them to attack the Dreg. Once the Dreg's king is dead, we'll be free to explore. And to reward you handsomely, of course.
Kill everybody. That's the job.
Goblins are pathetic beasts, but they have their uses.
Uh-huh. But again, why do you want to explore this cave?
I'm sworn to secrecy by my order, but rest assured, our cause is just. Clear our path into the caverns and you'll be rewarded. That's all you need to know, and all that I'm permitted to discuss.
I'd really like to know the why of it, though. I'm that kind of person.
If you don't think the reward is worth the risk, perhaps you should leave.
Again, who are you people?
We follow the ways of the Chimera, not the false gods of the Tribunal. We're servants of the web spinner who Vivec usurped. Dunmer, Goblin, or Dreg were all caught in the strands of the spider's web.
Ah, the web spinner. Okay. You and your Daedric armor rest well. We'll go take care of the job. One question before I start. Did your mother give you that name, or is it a professional appellation, like a call sign? You're not going to share? Okay, all right. Taking a job from someone named Veloth is going on my ever-growing list of dubious life choices. Besides that, and this one's for free, no one wearing black and red Daedric armor cares about your happiness or well-being. At best, you are useful. At worst, you're... well, you've seen Cold Harbor. So let's go be useful for the pretty lady in the demon armor. What could possibly go wrong with that choice? Gamin's dialogue is there to underscore that Mephala's name and nature are common knowledge in Tamriel. She's one of the most powerful Daedric princes, and she's a big deal. And Veloth adds a piece of the puzzle by saying that Mephala was usurped by Vivec. This is the third of the zone dungeons that we've done together, you and I. In the Aldmeri Dominion Zone 1 dungeon, Banished Cells in Auridon, following the lore will teach you the true purpose and origin of the Mage Guild. In the Daggerfall Covenant Zone 1 dungeon, Spindleclutch in Glenumbra, following the lore will reveal the history and current purpose of the Fighters Guild. Those are both good things to put in starting zones for new players. It's foundational information, and it's important for interacting with Tamriel. So I wondered what was going to be in the Fungal Grotto video. Which was kind of dumb, because standing amongst the giant-ass mushrooms of Stonefalls, there's really only one place the lore can go, and that's back to Morrowind. The spoiler warning for this video is for Elder Scrolls 3 Morrowind. Now, I can talk about Morrowind for an hour without taking a breath. Have done. But Morrowind is the favorite of a lot of us who played the solo games. So many, in fact, that Vvardenfell was not only a viable option for the first chapter, it was the only real choice. Stonefalls and Fungal Grotto are base game, here since beta content. There was no Vivec City back then, and no Vivec, not in person. But his fingerprints, the consequences of his actions, are all over Stonefalls. It makes sense that this was a base game starting zone. It gives solo players coming in a feeling of familiarity. Pure nostalgia alone makes Tribunal lore foundational level knowledge. But Morrowind's importance isn't just about nostalgia. It was clear in the Arena and Daggerfall games that the lore team had a whole world in mind to share. But it wasn't until Morrowind that they stepped out from underneath the sort of shadow of expectation of classic European fantasy. Morrowind, as a piece of art, said something new. And in the process of saying what it had to say, the lore that it established realized and strengthened the world. Vanis Galarian made the Mages Guild. Versaduce made the Fighters Guild. St. Alessia made the Empire, and centuries from now, Talos is going to remake it. Almalexia, Sothasil, and Vivec made themselves gods, and made a whole lot of enemies doing so. The Tribunal are 3 people, but the ripples of consequence from their actions are profound. Vivec's holy name comes up in quest after quest in Stonefall, but I don't think anyone else calls him Vivec the Usurper until you meet Veloth. Which begs the question, how does Mephala feel about being turned into a placeholder? Morrowind lore begins, as much lore does, with the High Elves. Way back, Veloth, you know him as Saint Veloth, Prophet Veloth, but first he was just Veloth, the crazy guy who worships Daedra. Veloth's pitch was for the Altmer to stop worshipping their ancestors, the Aedra, and instead worship the 3 Daedra he called the Good Daedra, Azura, Boethia, and Mephala. Clearly this was not an idea he came up with all on his own, right? One of those 3 Good Daedra whispered in his ear. Maybe Mephala, maybe Boethia. It was definitely Boethia who swayed most of Veloth's followers to his side. I don't have time to share all of the fun stories at once, but one day we'll have to talk about how Boethia tricked Trinimac into becoming Malakath. Suffice to say, Boethia's tactics made an impression and Veloth gained groupies. But Boethia, Azura, and Mephala didn't want their followers to remain in Somerset. Veloth took his people across the continent to Vvardenfell, the land of the Red Tower, the home of Lorkhan's heart. The date of the Exodus is contested, but probably happened in the mid-Merethic era. At that point, Veloth and his people were still golden-skinned, but they were called Chimer, which literally means Elves of the North. They are also, now in our time period, called the Changed Ones. There were already people in Vvardenfell when the Chimer arrived. But when has an indigenous population ever gotten in the way of a religious vision? Well, I'll tell you. It happened at the exact moment that Veloth and his followers ran into the Dwemer. Vardenfell wasn't just a Dwemer outpost, it was in fact the Dwemer homeland. And Dwemer defined the word entrenched. It was Indoril Nerevar who forged a truce based on friendship with the Dwemer about First Era 416. The alliance broke down about First Era 700 when Nerevar became aware that the Dwemer had built a mighty colossus, a brass giant called the Numidium. Nerevar and the Chimer generals immediately took the colossus as a threat, and the war began anew. Currently, we are working for the web spinner, or perhaps we always are. And step one of Vila's idea is to kill the goblin chief. Well, here we are. When was the last time you got to put somebody's head on a pike? Yay! All of this is ours now. Yay? Well, the part with the pike was fun. But see, there are minions now. Let's go lead them to their death. Here's the spoiler for Elder Scrolls 3 Morrowind, just in case you need one. We don't know the true purpose of the Dwemer's construct, but it was the focal point of their power as a race. The Numidium, also called Waxbrass, was the Dwemer's tower. It's possible they built it not as a weapon, but as a way to ascend out of their mortal bodies as a race. In any case, they were powering the Numidium with an energy source they had found deep in the volcano, Lorkhan's heart. To manipulate that divine energy, an engineer named Kagranak had invented 3 tools to tap and focus the heart's power. There is reason to believe that the Dwemer had used the tools before the final battle at Red Mountain. During that battle, however, when the dwarves tapped the heart's power, they disappeared. Every Dwemer except one, who was in another dimension at the time, they all simultaneously vanished. With the Dwemer gone, we have 5 actors left at the heart of this story. Almalexia, who was queen. Indoril Nerevar had been a guard in Almalexia's caravan, but she fell in love with him, married him, and made him king. Dagath was their general, Sothasil was their senior advisor, and Vivec was a junior advisor, much younger than the rest. Dagath took possession of the tools for safekeeping, but they corrupted him, and Nerevar, who was never tempted by the tools, had to kill him. Nerevar, a champion of Azura, insisted that they swear an oath to never use the tools, and they each did swear that oath. Some time passed. Something happened in Nerevar. Accounts vary, so it's a bit of a mystery. It was so long ago, really, who can say for sure? Perhaps it was a single car accident, or maybe he died peacefully in his bed one night. So many possibilities. But after his death, Almalexia, Sothasil, and Vivec had a change of heart. They rethought their oaths and decided that, fortune favors the bold. So they picked up Kagranak's tools, tapped the heart's power, and declared themselves gods. House Indoril, Nerevar's house, swore itself immediately to the service of the new gods, and all Indoril property became tribunal land. House Redoran, Hlalu, and Tilvani, Andras, swore loyalty to the tribunal and survived. The other houses who would not bow to the new gods were stripped of their land and wealth, and now survive as the nomadic Ashlanders, living in the ash wastes of Red Mountain. House Dagoth was destroyed. The 6th house, the missing house, its name became profane. Only whispered in the most private settings, and rarely even then. Erased. Except not, of course, because Dagath is a wound that festers at the heart of Red Mountain. And Azura told the tribunal it would. After their apotheosis, she called them on their broken oaths, and told them to put down the tools, or they would doom themselves and their people. Almalexia, Sothasil, and Vivec explained that after some consideration, they were okay with being liars and oath-breakers if it meant they also got to be gods. And that was the moment that the golden-skinned Chimer became the Dunmer, with skin like ash and eyes like lava, marked by Red Mountain. Azura prophesied that Indoril Nerevar would be reborn and would save his people from the corruption the tribunal would not be able to hold back. As the PC in Morrowind, which is set in the 3rd era, you are Nerevar reincarnate. Over the course of mantling him to fully assume his power, you uncover the true story of how the living gods of Morrowind came to their godhood, and put an end to the threat of Dagoth in the 6th house. The game marks the beginning of the end of the tribunal's power. But let's go back to Veloth. Veloth wanted his people to worship 3 Daedra. Those 3 Daedra actively worked to help Veloth recruit followers. They mentored and protected the fledgling culture as the Chimer migrated over Tamriel. The Chimer were always outnumbered, so Mephala taught them the ways of lies and secret murder. She helped them form the great houses and establish the Morag Tong. Azura taught them, and I'm quoting here, the mysteries of how to be Chimer instead of Altmer. And after all that effort, the Daedra's chosen people finally became the unquestioned masters of the Promised Land. The three good Daedra, as they had fashioned themselves, were poised to be the dominant paradigm in one of Tamriel's most powerful societies. The tree they had nurtured over centuries was about to bear really juicy fruit. And at the last possible moment, the Tribunal stepped in and stole it all. All that momentum redirected with a few smooth lies and cheap miracles. Now Vivec City thrives while all the Daedric shrines fall to ruin. Vivec the usurper indeed. Gods get mantled and replaced all the time, but that isn't what the Tribunal is doing. Tribunal literature calls the Daedric princes anticipations of the living gods, like placeholders. Vivec isn't just mantling Mephala, he's replacing her. At the end of Vivec's plan, there won't be one Mephala and 0 Vivecs. There will be at least one Vivec and nothing else matters. And if you don't understand that, you haven't met Vivec. Back in Fungal Grotto. The cave structure has opened up to reveal a subterranean Daedric shrine built by the Chimer and lost for centuries.
By the ebony blade, this is it. We found the shrine.
A. I'm guessing this is the exact moment we cease being useful to Violet therein. And B. The cultists are not going to let us into their shrine.
Take my advice. Go and forget you ever met us.
Okay, but can I see the shrine first?
Thank you for your work, but we no longer have need of you here.
Okay, but can I see the shrine first?
Unbelievable. We've spent years searching for the Spinner's shrine, and these filthy creatures have been sitting right on top of it all along.
You're welcome.
Yes, you've done as we agreed. Take this for your work. Now you will leave. Immediately. The secret of the Spinner's shrine are not for outsiders.
I'm really not okay with that answer.
You were ordered to leave. What lies beyond this door is not for your eyes.
Come on.
Secrets are Spinner's currency. Besides, this shrine contains privileged information your dull mind would not comprehend. Have I made myself clear? Your services are no longer required.
Lady, I didn't get into the hero biz and fight my way down here to not see what's behind the cool... You know what? Whatever. When I come back, and I will come back, I'm bringing C4. Let's go look at our loot. As usual, there's a heavy, medium, and light armor set that drops in Fungal Grotto. The heavy set is Dreadkeen Slayer, the medium set is Viper Sting, and the light set is the Spider Cultist Cowl. And for our boss trophy head, we get Krog the Dreadkeen, who, if we're being perfectly honest, was really just minding his own business. If you have a stamina-based character and you want to give group dungeons a try, Fungal Grotto 1 is a fun little dungeon, and you can do a lot worse than Vipers starting out. Consider trying this one at lower levels. It isn't scary at all. And that's a wrap on Fungal Grotto 1. Thank you for watching. Fungal Grotto 2 will go up at the same time, so you can click the links on through to that. But before you go, if you had a good time, please click the like and subscribe buttons. I'm Zells, the channel is Zellspeak, and until next time, may all your loots be leet.